It's Beer O'Clock, and this is the Beer O'Clock Show, where every week we dive into the world of beer and come out soaking. Joining me, battening down his hatches so Hurricane Bertha doesn't lift him off into the North Sea, is my beer buddy, Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Are you firmly pinned?
Yeah, kind of passed us by. A few showers and a
Yeah.
little bit of rain. Yeah, a little bit of wind.
It was a bit windy yesterday, but that was about it. The Scots are having a whale of a time, though.
Oh, yeah,
Up north.
they always get hit bad, don't they?
Serves them right for being Scottish. Joining us as well this week is an old friend of the show, someone I've never met before, but who Steve has met quite a few times and enjoyed beers in his little pub as well, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
It's Ed from the Swan in something.
Stratford St Mary.
Stratford St Mary, that's it.
That's the one. Yeah.
Hello, Ed. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hi,
Great
Ed.
to have you on.
Hi, Stevie.
Let's talk about the beers we've had in the last week. Steve.
Yes.
What have you gotten into, mate?
I was on holiday last week, and I was on the Isle of Wight, so I was trying to do my best to sample as many of the local beers as possible. I think there's 3 breweries on the island, and I managed to sample beers from 2 of them, and they were okay, but they're nothing that you wouldn't expect to have been able to have bought off of a supermarket shelf anywhere. So
Yeah. Did they all have weird names?
Yeah, there was one that was called Fuggle De Dum, and I was like, I know exactly what this is going to taste like, and I wasn't I wasn't surprised. It tasted like twigs and earth and leaves and spices and all sorts. It was probably the best of the bunch that I had was from the Island Brewery. It's called White Gold. Which was a 3.8% golden ale, which was a right refreshing pint. So that's probably all I've been drinking is Isle of Wight beers. I took some of my own stash with me because it was IPA day as well last week, so I had to make sure I had a massive IPA to have on IPA day.
I like to think you've got a bag of like an old-fashioned doctor's bag with stashed full of cans that in a hold everywhere. That's what I imagine you've got.
Emergency beer supplies.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Yeah, just in case I can't find enough hops wherever I am, I've always got a supply in my bag.
Yeah.
A little vial of dry hops so you can smell it now and then.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Ed? I imagine that you see some decent beers coming through your pub.
Yeah, we do. We have 16 on draft. I get bored of them, so I don't usually drink them. So I have my own stash that I drink afterwards. But I'm drinking some of the London beers at the moment. So 4 Pure and Beavertown. Took up and had a tasting, just see if we'd like to get on a bar, which I think the answer came back as yes. So the Session IPA by 4 Pure went down very nicely out of a tin. It was good.
Yes, that's a pretty good one. I like the Session IPA. It's a very easy drinker, actually.
Yeah. It's about the right level for people who come into the pub as well. They sort of want a bit of hop, but they want too much booze. So that is kind of right. I mean, we had Founders All Day IPA on it. It just went like a flash.
Oh, yeah, I bet it did.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Well, I think I mentioned a few weeks ago that I was doing this little buy a shitload of beers mentioned in Melissa Cole's book. And I managed to get my shitload of beers was 6 of them. And I'm slowly making my way into them. So this is my kind of like a journey of education for me based on this book. So the first one I had was Taras Bulba from Brasserie de la Seine, which was very nice. I've had a bunch of other ones like Phoenix Pale and Smog Rocket. But another one from the book that I had on this weekend just gone past was, and I like trying to pronounce this, it's the Schneiderweiser Unser Aventinus.
Oh, the Aventinus, yeah. Oh, it's great.
Oh, is that how you say it? Aventinus?
Aventinus, yeah.
Yeah, that was lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely. Strong. It's
and
good.
then I finished it off with an Orexley from Harvest Doom, which was their
Yeah.
Scottish for mistake.
You're still convinced it's a mistake, are you?
I will take some convincing to think otherwise. So yeah, that's my beery adventures this week.
Talking of beer mistakes, I was in another pub in Colchester last week, and they had a Gers style beer from Wibbler's Brewery. And I'm convinced that they didn't deliberately set out to make a Gers. It just tasted like it had been sat in the brewery for too long and tasted all horrible and metally and oxidated. And I think they just put it in a cask and tried to sell it to someone. But that wasn't my highlight of the week.
See, some of the best beers have started off as mistakes, but some mistakes are just best left.
I agree.
Stephen,
Mark,
do we have some beery news this week, mate?
we've got a couple of bits, but because I've been away, I've not really been scouring the internet for the great news that we normally have. So these are both a little bit self-indulgent, to be honest with you.
You get no pips then.
Oh, no pips, really? You know you're going to get people tweeting in and complaining that there were no pips on this week's news. Okay, so in this week's self-indulgent news section, and it included within the self-indulgence is obviously the standard Brewdog item. We have been invited up to the Brewdog Brewery for a bit of a tour and a bit of a Q&A with the founders, and a beer tasting and a visit of the new tap house, and then I think there's plans for a few other things while we're up there now. I know that you can't make it, but I jumped at the opportunity, and I should be jetting off on a plane to Scotland next week to have a look around Brewdog HQ. Must be all these mentions we keep giving them on the show that they've finally decided to get us up there. So as I say, we're going to have the opportunity to do a bit of a Q&A with James Watt and Martin Dickey, the two founders of Brewdog. So really, it's just an opportunity for any of the listeners, if they wanted to tweet us any questions that they'd like us to ask on their behalf. Then please do so, and if I get an opportunity, I'll throw those questions in. So, but unfortunately, I'll be flying off on the day that the last episode of this series is released. So you'll have to wait until either the summer special or season 5 to hear how the visit went. So that's the first item. But just to say thanks to Brewdog for the invite, actually, because that should be quite an exciting trip, actually, to go and have a look around what they're doing up there.
Can you buy me a Toblerone from the duty free?
Do you get duty free when they're
I don't know.
internal flights? I don't think you do.
No, but I still want a Toblerone though.
I could just buy you a Toblerone at like Liverpool Street Station if you wanted.
Know.
It'd be the
It has
same.
to be from the airport, cheap bastard.
Okay.
I want one of the £6 ones.
You want one of those big ones, don't you? That's it. You want a great big Toblerone. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see what we can do on that one. So that's the first item, and then the second item, and this is a bang that I'm going to continue to drum. A bang that I'm going to continue to drum. No, that's wrong. The drum that I'm going to continue to bang. I mentioned it last week. The Witham Beer Festival, my local beer festival, just down the road from me. It's coming up next week, and I caught up with one of the guys from the organising committee. Actually, I caught up with the chair from the organising committee, a guy by the name of Lee Bedingfield, for a quick interview this week, and this is what Lee had to say about the festival.
Welcome to the Beer O'Clock Show, Lee. Tell us a little bit about the beer festival.
Yes, this is Witham Beer Festival that runs between August the 21st and 23rd in Witham Cricket Club in Malden Road. It's our 4th year at the beer festival. Hopefully going to be a successful. Each year we're building on it, so we're hoping for a good turnout this year along with the weather.
Okay, and you mentioned there it's the 4th year. What was the reason behind starting Beer Festival 4 years ago?
We looked at ways that we could raise funds for our pavilion. Our ageing pavilion in the cricket ground is obviously required maintaining. We also look at how we can help to reduce the funds, the subs, etc. for players of both the cricket club and the hockey club. And I believe a member, obviously around that time, came up with the suggestion that why don't we try a local beer festival, as a way of raising funds. which is how it got started. So basically it started off as a small festival 4 years ago, and each year has built upon its last year's reputation to where we are now into obviously our 4th year with a much bigger and better festival.
And what can people expect from, you say we're into the 4th year now and it's growing, what can people expect from this year's festival?
Based upon the last years, we've certainly got a much bigger marquee, which we experimented with last year. Along with that now, we've added a combined food tent, which serves sort of barbecue food, burgers, sausages. Each year we're sort of listening to what people would like to see with Witham's festival, and then added that to it. Along with that, we've got 3 nights of entertainment, live entertainment that we put on. That hopefully makes the evening, a pleasurable one while enjoying the beer.
And it also runs alongside the cricket festival, so people can, assuming the weather's okay, they can sit and enjoy their beer and watch a little bit of cricket as well.
Yes, that happens on a Thursday. We have games on a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Certainly last year, the weather on the Thursday and the Friday was good. On the Friday, we had a great little turnout, people watching a local cricket game, which adds to to what the festival's about. And then obviously on the Saturdays the same. You've got a league game that you can watch while enjoying the beer.
And you talk about beer. You've got quite an extensive beer list that's available on the website now. Do you want to give us a bit of a feel for the sorts of things that people can expect beer wise?
Yes, we've got sort of over about 30 ales that we put on. We've also got about 7 ciders that we experiment with there. We're also looking this year to possibly look at adding sort of 4 guest ciders, but until the event starts, we won't know what they're going to be. We also last year we experimented with some wine. We put wine on to give us the option of other people that come that might not necessarily be beer or cider drinkers, to sample some wines as well. So along with that, we look to add some soft drinks as well for the younger generation. So it makes it more of a family orientated event. But certainly very good beers. We had good feedback last year on our beers, and we've changed around a few since last year. So hopefully again this year you can experiment with some different kind of beers this year. And
the whole thing's run by volunteers. How many people roughly get involved in making the event happen?
We do obviously have a committee that is put together each year that gets the event up and running, and then from members of the hockey club and the cricket club, we have members of those that help us with bar security, food, etc. As and when we do. So across the whole event, with the committee members, you're looking at anywhere from sort of 20 to 30 volunteers that help us, sometimes more.
And there are still some sponsorship opportunities available for the event. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yes, we're always looking for people to add some sponsorship to the event. One of the big ones is the beer. What we do is we look for sponsors of barrels of beer. It's £50 to sponsor. That gains you free entry into the festival, and it also gives you a wristband to give you 4 pints of free beer. So for us, again, to make the festival as successful as it is, for the town and for the clubs, we look for people to help us in that way with sponsorship, as well as we'd always welcome sponsorship, towards maybe the toilet facilities or even the marquee facilities, whichever people would feel like they want to sponsor. So we're always looking for local companies to help us run that part of the festival.
Okay, and if people are keen to get involved in sponsorship, what we'd suggest to our listeners is to contact us initially, and we'll put them in touch with the right person at the club.
Yes, definitely. As I say, they can come through. There's various ways, but just get in touch, and we can get someone back to you with any details of whichever sort of questions you've got regarding the sponsorship.
Okay, what's the one reason why people should attend the festival next weekend?
Because we serve great beer. We're a social friendly club. There'll be good entertainment, and obviously cricket there to watch while you're enjoying your beer, and because it's a good family environment.
Thank you very much for your time, Lee.
Thank you.
It. I'm certainly looking forward to attending next weekend, and there'll be a review of the festival coming up in our summer special.
Okay, so that's all about the Witham Beer Festival. For more information, check out withambeerfestival.webs.com or follow them at Witham Beer Festival on Twitter. And again, because the festival actually takes place on the weekend when we release the final show of the season, you won't be hearing about that until either the summer special or season 5 either. So that's kind of the end of this week's self-indulgent news section.
Well, that was very self-indulgent.
Yes.
News only relevant to you.
Well, no, there are other people coming to the Witham Beer Festival with me.
Is there?
Justin's coming.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, Justin's coming. Yes, and Clay at Clayfish is coming as well.
To be fair, if you put beer in a tent, Justin's going to turn up. Doesn't matter where it is.
Yeah, beer in a tent in Essex. Yeah, Justin will be there. He'll sniff it out, won't he? Yeah.
Right, we got a little thing coming up over the summer as well, which is on September 16th.
Really? No.
I don't have my calendar here with me.
Saturday
Is it the
the
24th?
6th.
Sixth.
No, it's not the 20th. Just stop shouting random dates in September. It's Saturday the 6th of September, Mark.
Yes.
Come on.
Is the beer o'clock lock-in? Hooray!
Whee!
Live on the
Got
YouTube,
it in.
live on the Google Hangouts. We'll be tweeting about it while it's happening, obviously, but basically it's going to be 10 drunkards getting on YouTube, having a piss up on a Saturday night, and you are all invited along to watch. And if there's a spare seat, you might even get to join us. Isn't that fun? So
It is. And we're all going to be doing a group review
We are,
of
yes.
Kipling, which has been supplied to us by Thornbridge,
yeah,
which we are very grateful for.
indeed, lovely people at Thornbridge. Thank you very much. So that's on September 6th.
Got it. Bingo.
Hooray!
Only just told you. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of in the middle of our little summer break. We've only got a week to go after this one. We'll
Yes,
show
we
about
have.
that at the end of the show. Right, before we get to this week's beer, which is a very, very special one, it is featured in my Melissa Cole book. Melissa isn't paying me to mention her book repeatedly, by the way. It is just my current beer Bible.
Are you sure? Because you know how you mentioned a few weeks ago about we should be billing Magic Rock
Yeah.
for the amount of mentions that I give Cannonball.
Yeah.
I think you're almost equaling it with mentions about this book now, mate, to be honest with you.
Well, it's a very good book, and I like Melissa, so there you go. Before we get to that beer, which is a special one, Ed,
Hello.
why don't you tell us a little bit about your various ventures? Because you're the manager of the Swan, or the Beer Lord,
Sure.
as you've been described.
That
Beer
was,
Overlord.
yeah. That was at Femto Brewster. Yeah. Yeah. So the Swan is it's a 16th century coaching inn, right on the Essex Suffolk border. I mean, Steve, I don't really. I'm a bit biased. What's the beer like at the Swan? As a consumer,
It's pretty good for a pub in the middle of rural Essex / Suffolk.
yeah. We're pretty proud of the list. It's good. It's not the most up to date current trend setting list, but I think it represents a nice broad style of what's decent and deemed decent in the beer world.
Cool.
And you do some you do some marvellous things with casks of Adnams as well, don't you? You look after them very, very well before they end up on your bar.
It's true. I got into an argument with people about this a few months ago, and it all kicked off a bit. But yeah, we keep them and just leave them in the cellar for 6 weeks, and guarantee a 6-week cellar broadside is something different. It's something special.
It does sound pretty special. Yeah.
Do the same with Ghost Ship, Tally Ho. We've had a firkin of Tally Ho in our cellar since last Christmas, ready to go on this Christmas. So that's a 12-month cellaring process.
Wow.
Well, let me book my seat at that table for this Christmas, I think.
Yeah. I think it goes into cask at 7.4 off the top of my head, and God knows what it is when it comes onto the bar. It must be touching 9, I would have thought.
Wow.
It's pretty perky stuff.
Is that the basic idea, to make them stronger? or to get the flavours.
It's not the strength. It's so much. It's the flavour just rounds out a lot more with Ghost Ship. And the two that we do it with mostly the Ghost Ship and Tim Taylor's Landlord. And if you put them on quite soon after traditionally they'd be ready, they're quite spiky and they're not as rounded. And if you give them 3 to 6 weeks in the cellar, everything becomes more rounded and the malt really balances out with the hops, and the yeast mellows everything out, and it's just less jagged. It's a nicer pint, and yeah, the carbonation is just amazing.
You also have a little project with our buddy Justin, don't you?
Yeah, we decided to write this website, Beer East Anglia, which it's kind of with the Good Beer Guide and the Good Pub Guide. It's not as a competition to that. It's just where can we find good beer to drink in pubs in Suffolk, and it's including cask, and it's also excluding cask. We like to see a good range of keg products, good range of cask products, and of course decent bottled range behind the bar as well.
Okay, cool. So that's going to be it's not a book or anything, is it? It's just a website.
Just the website at the moment, yeah. But we're going to go live probably in the next few weeks, and we'll hopefully see what the reaction is and see what people think of it.
Excellent. And I have one final note here that you're involved with, which is a beer festival. What's that?
Oh yeah, Steve, have you heard about this? We're having a beer fest at the Swan. I don't know.
I think I might have heard comment about it. Yeah,
is it
possibly?
Is it something to do with your birthday as well?
It's the Saturday before my birthday. Yes.
Okay, so it's the warm up.
It's going to be kind of the official birthday celebration, because
man, that's pressure for me now, right? That's pressure on me.
Yeah, I know, but you know what I want to see, so I'm you've got the order in already, but yeah,
Schiehallion in a cask.
It is the cask Schiehallion. Yes.
Oh, it's yes. Glorious. It's a glorious beer.
When is this?
Don't tell me how good it is and then don't put it on at the festival.
No, I'll make sure.
When is this?
Sure so it's the Harveystown Schiehallion. It's their lager.
No,
you often see it.
The festival. When's the festival?
Oh, the festival. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it's 12th to the 14th of September.
It will finish the day before my payday, wouldn't it? Typical. What have I told you, Steve? All the beer stuff happens right before I get paid.
It's a global.
It does, yeah. It's almost like it's against you, yes.
Oh, dearie me.
There are a few of us heading down to the Swan again for that. So there will be a number of wankers descending upon the Swan that weekend to sample the fine beers that you have on offer at the festival.
I think I'll have to warn the parish council.
Yeah, with language like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, let's get on with this week's beer, which is a beer all the way from Belgium. I believe this was picked up by you, Ed, as being the beer that you'd like to review on the show.
Yeah, it was.
And it was supplied by
yes, thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
No, my pleasure.
And according to Steve, this is every craft wanker's favourite beer.
Who said that?
Steve?
Every craft wanker, apparently.
Oh, okay.
This is kind of the default beer that if you ever ask anybody what's your favourite beer, this is the one that everybody always defaults to.
Yeah. Favourite Belgian beer, I think.
Yeah. So, in case there are any craft wankers listening who haven't just shouted Orval at their iPod, it is Orval that we're reviewing this week from the Orval brewery, and this is the only beer they do. According to I've got my little book opened at the Orval page. I've done some research this week, which meant finding the page in the book. So, tell me a little bit. This is a Trappist ale.
And it is.
What's the ABV on this? It's about
6.2.
6.2. And it's got a lovely, sweet little bottle. Very cute.
It's great, isn't it? It looks like a skittle, or like a bar skittle.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about this beer, either of you. What's so great about this beer? I know I'll probably figure that out when I drink it, but...
Is this your first time drinking it?
I've never had this before. I'm not a certified craft wanker. I do not yet have my sash.
Hey, this is a step in the right direction. It's a great beer. Steve, what do you make of Orval? What's your...
I've only had it once.
Okay.
Before as well. I remember it being not too Belgian-y, which is a good thing from my perspective. But as with Mark, who's got his book open on the appropriate page, I've spent the whole weekend with my head buried in various beer books, researching this beer, because I know the kind of background that it has, and it's held in very high esteem by a lot of people. So I thought I'd better make sure I've got all the knowledge ready for tonight.
It's a great beer. So I've actually been to the brewery and been around the brewery. That was about this time last year. It's honestly one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. I went on a week-long tour of Belgium and took in a few breweries, more than a few, about 16 I think. And Orval was halfway around the country. It's great. You drive through a forest, and these are all roads built by the Americans after the war. So they're straight as an arrow and really wide for all the, not for all the time, I don't know. They're basically long, and the forest goes right up to the edge of the road, and you drive for about 40 kilometres through the forest, and then you pop out next to a lake, and at the other end of the lake is the abbey. It's glorious, and I was lucky with the weather. It was just perfect, and then you get to drink this.
And I'm right in saying as well, is the Abbey's the only place in the world where you can drink it on tap, isn't it?
Okay. It is possible to get Orval in this country on tap, and something I'm working on. What you can get, the only place in the world at the tap, is the Petit Orval, which is the low version, the father's beer. So it's the beer that the monks would drink. It's about 3.8%, and Orval Green, it's also known as. And I'm also trying to get some of that across the UK, because that would be probably a UK first to get some Petit Orval over here onto the bar at the Swan.
Okay, well, let's get into it, guys. I've been eyeing this up on my beer shelf for quite some time, so...
Oh, wow. That was nice.
They are quite fizzy, so be gentle.
Yeah.
Which bottle are you opening there, Steve? Is it the 16th of the 8th?
I've got the 30th of the 1st, 2013.
Okay, fine. I'll open the set, because I've got two in front of me. I've got the same one as you, which is the 30th of January, and I've also got one that's 6 months older than that as well. That's from August 2 years ago.
Wow, this is fizzy as fuck.
Yeah.
Now this changes quite rapidly, doesn't it, as well, in terms of what goes on in the bottle.
And
the differences. That's why you're going to do 2 bottles tonight, Ed. For the sake of taking one for the show to do a comparison for us.
Oh no!
In terms of flavour.
Is it right that I should be pouring nothing but head at the moment?
It doesn't help pouring it into an Adnams pint glass. I'm pouring it into the real deal. Look.
This is the first clean one I could grab.
It's okay.
So now the best that I've got is, and this is going to kill Ed, I've got like a Belgian-y sort of glass look, but I'm hiding the logo round this side.
Is it a
goblet in it?
Is it left?
It is, yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about that.
Look, there's a barman that's worth his salt. Look, he can even spot the right glass as well.
Well, what's the one Belgian brewery you're going to have a glass from, Steve?
I know. Well, isn't Ed was telling me about the glass last time I saw him. The glass is special as well, isn't it, Ed?
Yeah, it is. It's designed, I think it's by an architect in about 1934, and it's only changed a couple of times since then. And I was a bit drunk at this point, but when Francois, who's the sort of the brewery manager / operations director at the brewery, was taking me around, he explaining about the glass. And it's all sort of divides quite nicely. The ratios of like width of the bowl to height of the glass, and then different sections. It all comes out the same golden ratio. And it's a beautiful thing. It's like drinking out of a goblet you'd find in a church, isn't it? It's perfect.
Yeah.
And that probably explains why you've been able to pour yours perfectly, and Mark and I are really struggling.
It might have something to do with
nothing but head.
Yeah. Have you had yours in the fridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had it in for about half an hour.
Okay.
Just to take the warmth out of it.
Okay. Yeah. Have you got anything you can drink yet? How are you getting on, Mark?
Oh yeah, I can get some out of this head. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can probably get through the head to the liquor underneath it. Yes.
The smell of this is lovely.
Yeah, I'm loving the aroma.
Yeah,
it's got it's almost got that. It's got a very sort of lambic-y aroma to it at this stage.
That's because we're drinking a sort of a 18-month-old bottle, and it's interesting that it's the only Trappist brewery in Belgium to deliberately put Brettanomyces into their beer. They do that at the end of fermentation, just before it goes into the bottle, and if you were drinking a young bottle, as it were, so only about 6 months age on it, you wouldn't really get that sourness coming through. But now it's double that period. We're getting that sourness coming straight out.
They put what in it? Sorry, what did you say?
Brettanomyces. It's the wild strain of yeast.
Oh, I see.
Gers and sour beers. Yeah.
Oh, of course, yes. I know it well.
So I've heard of it before, Mark, but for our listeners, I was going to ask the same question. So I'm glad that you did it for me.
It's the type of yeast that makes things sourer.
Oh, I see. I did think you said Britannia Mouses, but I wasn't sure if I was.
Britannia Mouses.
Yeah. Not sure if I was hearing you properly. Anyway, I'm going to struggle to get through the head on this, but I will do my very, very best. Shall we tuck in, lads, into Orval?
Here's to Orval. Yeah, it's going to fill your mouth. Even a sip's going to fill your mouth.
That's very pleasant.
It is, isn't it?
It's really soft. It's really well balanced. It's really smooth. On that first sip, there's probably a lot of foam in there as well, having forced my way through the head. But it's a nice welcoming first gulp. Yeah,
the first time I had it, I took a massive mouthful, and I wasn't really expecting what was going to happen. It just filled my mouth. If you take a sip and hold it and just feel what happens inside the mouth, the carbonation is so, the bubbles are so small and there's so much of it. Just let it. Yeah, it's glorious. It really gets your taste buds going. It's a nice aperitif. It'd really be a good beer to have at the start of a meal. It's going to get your saliva flowing and really set you up for a good old beef stew or something.
Yeah, it certainly gets the senses going, that's for sure. Kind of got those tart fruits in there, but you got that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite bitey on the end, I think.
It's good bitterness as well.
But it's not harsh bitterness, is it? It's just enough to let you know it's there.
Yeah.
But then it fades very quickly.
It's sort of, they're using Bavarian and Czech hops, dry hopping it in fermentation, so it's quite spicy rather than more bitter.
Mm.
It's more hoppy.
It's weird because, as I say, from the aroma, you kind of get the aroma that you'd expect from a lambic or from a sour beer, and it's quite surprising that when you take a swallow of it, your senses are preparing you for that sourness, and it just doesn't come. Instead, what you get is this wonderfully balanced and flavoursome beer that's just washing over.
Use your words, Stephen.
Yeah, I kind of stopped mid-sentence there, didn't I? Just had a moment of yeah. It's really enjoyable, actually.
Yeah.
It's certainly not Belgian-y, which
I think
is one of our favourite words on the show.
It's accessible. You start talking about beers like Rochefort 10 and Westmalle Triple. They're all like 8%. They're quite hard to get into, but this is perfectly quaffable, both in terms of flavour and strength.
Now, in most of the literature that I've read about it this weekend, there's suggestion that although it states it's 6.2 on the bottle, because of the stages of fermentation that it goes through, and the third stage is actually in the bottle, they reckon it's probably closer to 7 by the time that it reaches the glass. Would you agree with that?
It certainly doesn't feel like it, but I could well imagine it happening like that. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's 7%, and I think that's due to the amazing carbonation and bitterness. But I could well imagine it being 7%. Hey, more alcohol per pound, eh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Has quite a nice strong malt flavour to it on first taste.
Yeah.
But that the aroma carries through into the taste of it, so you have the kind of sweet sour, yeasty, fruity aroma to it that carries through into the taste of it. But that bite at the end is really, really nice.
And it's that spiciness at the end that over time would develop and become stronger.
Yes.
Isn't it? Yeah. Because it's the yeast that begins to do its thing towards the end, whereas at the beginning it's more around. By all accounts, a young bottle of this around 6 months old would be quite hoppy, and
Exactly.
you get quite a hoppy character from it. And
Yeah.
then as it begins to age, the hops die down and the yeasts start to do their thing and the Brett starts to do its thing and it begins to take on a whole new characteristic.
Yeah, it's one of the only bottle beers I know that does that. It's quite interesting. It's quite unique. I don't really know another bottle beer that. I know sour beers go in really sour, obviously, into the bottle like Cantillon, but this is. You could drink this beer at any stage and it would be a completely different beer, whether it's 2 months old, 6 months old, 12 months old. It's quite, interesting.
Now, if you kept this in the bottle until, I mean, the drink by date on this is 2018, I think.
Yeah.
Would the strength go up, or would the flavour just mature?
I think the strength would go up and it would become really dry as the yeast eats all the sugars, and you'd get less of that malt sweetness, and it would just become sour. And I don't know if it'd be unpleasant. It'd just be not what you'd expect from an Orval. But hey, why don't we try it? Why don't I leave one in the back of the shed and see what happens?
Why not? For science.
Hey guys, I'll make my booking for the next appearance in 2018. Okay.
Yeah.
Orval Mark II.
Show number 1000 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both have liver transplants by then.
So Ed, are you still drinking the same one as Mark and I, or have you moved on to the slightly older one that you've got there?
I'm just going to drink the rest of the same one as you. Oh, there we go. Shouldn't have poured that all in at once. But there you go. I'm going to have to quaff this. Yeah, it's not easy to gulp. It's quite gassy.
Yeah.
Ugh. They make a cheese. They make cheeses at the Abbey as well. And they do one washed with this beer, which is tasty. It sat in the boot of my car for a couple of days until I remembered that you can put it in the glove box and make the air conditioning blow hot air into the glove box. So driving around Belgium with a glove box full of sweaty cheese.
Nice.
Lovely.
Right. So this one was bottled on the 16th of August, so this is almost exactly 2 years old. What's the date today? The 11th? So yeah, we're nigh on 2 years old here. And see what that straight away that's got more condition in it in the bottle. It's a bit more vicious. I'm going to pour some in. Oh, I can smell it straight out the glass.
Same aroma, or is there a difference there in the aroma?
It's much more doughy. Rather than that hop aroma we got off the first one, this is much more bready, much more. It smells sourer.
And that's as an effect of the yeast doing its thing in the bottle.
Yeah. That's completely different. It's so much more dry. There's obviously much less sugar in there. It's got an extra 8 months on the beer that we had just now, and it's almost like it's tasting fineness, winey. Yeah, I mean the malt is just right at the back now, and then all I've got is just sourness. It's really, really making me eyes water. Not my eyes water, my taste buds water. Is that the phrase? Taste buds? I don't know.
Tickle?
Tickle my taste buds.
Tickling your taste buds, maybe? Who knows?
Yeah. That's really... yeah.
So there you have it. In tonight's scientific experiment, older Orval tastes different to younger Orval. I think we knew that was going to be the conclusion. But Ed taking one for the team there and actually proving it. Drink responsibly, of course, at home, folks.
It's a stunning beer, I have to say. I can see why so many craft wankers like it. Do you have
They
any?
like it because it's also dry hopped. I mean, anything that's been dry hopped has
Oh.
got to be worthy of a wanker badge, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, there's special badges just for that, I think.
Yeah.
Steve, do you have any final comments on the Orval, mate?
No, just that it's a very pleasant variation of sort of like the Belgian-y beers that we've maybe drunk before. It's certainly not got those in the age of the bottle that we've drunk tonight. It's not got those flavours that we talk about it being, Belgian-y, yeasty, and that sort of thing. It's very. It's coming across very fresh. The carbonation in it's working quite well. It's very well balanced. There's some fruit in there. There's some spice in there, and it leaves a nice soft finish as well. The thing that I can't get past with it is how the aroma is different from the taste, and that's really confusing me, because from the aroma I'm expecting something far more sour. But I'm not getting it from the taste. But that's not to say that the taste is unpleasant. It's a very pleasant taste and it's a very pleasant finish.
Okay, see, I'm still getting that slightly sweety sour aroma coming through in the taste, but the taste is then conquered by this maltiness, which then makes way for this really hoppy end to it. It's quite an experience of a mouthful when you first taste it. It's lovely.
I'm in love with it. This is a beer I put in my top 5 for sure.
And it comes with a fancy glass. Well, it doesn't come with it. You have to buy it separately.
Yeah. I do want one of the fancy glasses, because I want to do the whole experience properly. Ed, if I was to buy one of these beers at the Swan, would I get it served in the proper glass?
Of course you would.
Exactly. There you go. That's what I wanted to hear.
Stick it in your handbag afterwards, and you're off home.
Yes, that's it.
I'm sure.
I'm
Steve, I'm
taking
sure
a big.
I could
Go
probably
on,
put one in your handbag for your birthday if you like.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Along with a cask of Schihanian.
Yeah, roll your car around the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might be tricky explaining that one away.
Right, Stephen. Let's go downhill towards the end of the show now.
Okay.
Instagram of the week, mate. Do we have any contestants for this week?
Of course we do. I mean, there's been loads because but I had to have a cut-off point. So, thanks to everybody that might have Instagrammed us over the past week, but I only started looking at them again at the weekend. So probably only the last couple of days worth have got looked at properly. So there's a mention this week and a winner. So a mention to our old mate Justin at 1970s Boy, who seems to be on a European adventure these past couple of days and is Instagramming all these amazing pictures of various breweries in France and Belgium that he's in, and all these fancy beers in their fancy glasses and all the rest of it. So nice one for all of those pictures, Justin. But this week's winner, and again, you can check it out on our Instagram account. We would have already tweeted about this one. Goes to someone who's won before, Sean Smith, at PlimSean101, for a really great picture of a bottle of Jackhammer as seen through the bottom of his glass as he was drinking it. It's a really nice image. If you want to check it out, you can go onto our Instagram account at Beer O'Clock Show, and you can see the prize that we tweeted earlier on in the week. So keep sending us your entries with the hashtag Cheers Guys, Prize This Prize, Beer O'Clock Show, Craft Wanker, whatever you want. It's up to you, but mainly use Cheers Guys, because that's the one that I look for when I'm searching for the pictures.
Arty craft wankers at that.
Yes.
Right, you can find our season 4 beer list. We're getting ever so close to the end of season 4. We only have a week left. But our season 4 beer list is on the website at beeroclockshow.co.uk, and there are discount codes there from Ales by Mail, Honest Brew, and the Beer Boutique. 10% off your order using various discount codes that are available at beeroclockshow.co.uk. Just look for the season 4 beer list in the header. And Steve, do you want to tell people what's going on about season 5?
Yeah, we'll give a brief intro to season 5 this week, with a promise of more details to follow next week. But season 5 will be starting. First show is scheduled to go out on the 19th of September, running right through until Christmas, and we're going to have an Italian theme this time round. We've been working with Andy from Beers from Italy, and he's going to supply us 6 of the best Italian beers that he imports into the UK to try throughout the season. And as a little thank you to our listeners as well, you'll also be able to buy those 6 beers direct from Beers from Italy with a 15% discount on those beers as well. But there'll be more details to follow on how to access that code and those beers that we're going to be featuring. And then thrown in between those beers, we'll be doing all sorts of other things as well. We've got quite a few guests lined up for the next season. They've also all been asked to kind of suggest, much as we did with Ed tonight, to suggest what beer they'd like to drink with us. So we've got more guests coming up. We've got Matt Curtis is going to be on with us. We've got Rowan Molyneux who's going to be on with us, and we've got Rob Derbyshire as well from Hopsy who's going to be on with us as well. So lots of stuff coming up in season 5. Once we've got the season finale out of the way next week, there'll be a new beer list up on the website with details about how to access the Beers from Italy discount.
Yeah. And next week is our season finale. And it's a special little beer we've got. Tell the boys and girls what beer it is, Steve.
It's Old Chimney's Good King Henry Special Reserve.
Yes.
There you go, look. And this is the 2011, so it's the one that's only just recently stopped being available because there's such a limited edition run of bottles. It's an 11% Imperial Stout.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
Barrel aged, no.
It only comes in litre bottles, Mark, as well.
No, I know that's a fib.
That's a
Because
lie.
I got it on my beer
That's
shelf.
a lie.
Yeah, it's a tiny little bottle. I think it's about 275 bottle.
Good.
I think so. It's only a tiny one. That's going to be a real supper next week. We're going to take that one nice and slowly.
Challenge accepted.
While we reminisce on what feels like the longest season we've ever done, and while also looking forward to season 5, and also chatting about the Great British Beer Festival, which we're both at now, as you probably listen to this podcast, or we were at a few days ago. All that to come in next week's show.
If you're listening to this as soon as it's come out, I'm probably just stepping off my train on the way home, probably wobbling a little bit, singing to myself as I walk down Streatham High Street.
Hopefully wearing some sort of crazy headgear as well that we've located for you.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm a GBBF virgin, so popping the cherry big time this Friday.
That's good.
With Stephen by my side, as my mum would have wanted it. Right, Ed, where can people find you online, and what's the website of the Swan that they can find you?
So this website for the Swan is www.stratfordswan.com. I'm at Ed Razzle, RAZZALL. The Swan, I also kind of tweet about as well, which is at Stratford Swan. And then mine and Justin's venture, which I believe was mentioned here a few weeks ago, is at Beer East Anglia, or beeryastanglia.com, when it goes live in about 2 weeks' time.
Great. Well, I'm sure we'll be giving you plenty of
feature
plugs.
on our on our news section when it goes live. Don't worry. If I get my pips back, of course, that is.
Yeah.
You'll get your pips as soon as the news isn't just about you.
Well, it wasn't just. Oh, right, okay.
I tease.
Maybe it was just about me this week.
You'll get the pips next week.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I better do. It's the season finale, mate. I'm expecting pips with bells on.
All the pips.
All the pips. Hashtag capitals. All the pips.
I'm expecting a cliffhanger. I think there's going to be a dramatic sort of 45 minutes, and then it's going to cut vaguely off, and then there'll be an American voiceover saying, what will happen on season 5? And I think that's what's going to happen in your series finale. I think that's what we should do.
I'm actually loving that idea now. I'm going to start working on that.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Leave people in suspense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you can find us on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show. You can find Steve on Twitter at Beer O'Clock Show as well. I'm on Twitter at Roku Beer. Steve's on Untapped at Beer O'Clock Show. Steve, I'm on Untapped at Roku. And we're on Instagram at Beer O'Clock Show as well. The website is beeroclockshow.co.uk. Right, that's it. Ed, thanks very much for joining us, mate.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Steve, thank you, sir. I will talk to you next week.
Been the highlight of my week.
Same.
Hey.
Chat to you then.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.